Welcome to the Best Overall Show.
Hello, hello.
I am Joe.
And I'm Cass.
We are down to Noah today. He had some personal stuff going on, so we'll catch up with him next time. Today, we are recapping Kazra's exciting trip to the Warhammer World Championship in Atlanta, Georgia. Was that 2 weekends ago?
I don't even life's been a blur since, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. First off, before we get started, what's new? Oops, this is the wrong slide. Stand by.
All good. But yeah, it's amazing what happens when you shove that much Warhammer in like a concentrated amount of time. Time stops meaning anything.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about real quick how you got to go?
Sure. So I came close to qualifying a couple of times outside of my one qualification. I almost got best general at a major. I almost got best overall. I got second best overall at Kippers Melee. But I did play on the Art of War team for Kansas City teams. And that was a bit of a trip because it was one of the last events of 9th. I was running Ultramarines when Iron Hands were the accepted general wisdom that you take for teams. So, I took a very brutally crafted Ultramarines list that I made with my teammates and I ran it really well. I did exceed expectations. So I felt like I really pulled my weight in that one. And of course, it doesn't hurt being on a team with the gentleman I was on. That does not hurt whatsoever. So we pulled it off and I qualified that way, which is kind of weird qualifying one way and then going into a new edition for the actual championships. But I feel like, we've all had enough time with 10th, but it is still evolving. The Codex Space Marines, I didn't have enough time with if I'm being honest, because I wasn't able to kind of take a list outside of Gladius that I was comfortable with and hobby it up to the standard that I would like to hobby up. So, things that I wish went differently, absolutely. But I will say, hell of an event. The GW events team never ceases to amaze me by putting on the best events, and the depth and breadth of this one was massive. I was lucky enough to be able to bring my girlfriend, and
nice.
There was just so much going on, so many folks from around the world. I've not played in the WTC yet, but my understanding was like this is the closest that we've gotten to that feeling in a singles event. So really great time.
Right. Okay, so you've got back from the trip, and we'll go into detail, obviously. But yeah. What's new with you right now? What do you got coming up, and what have you been working on?
Yeah, well, I have been kind of juggling some commissions as well as building some stuff for my new list. Hint, it's John Lennon's list. But I've been working on that on the hobby side. On the gaming front, I've been playing an obscene amount of TTS because I am still a prospect for Team Canada, and we've got one internal scrim left before they make the decision to cut down to 16 players, 8 of which will be the starting team. So been spending a lot of time playing practice games and then playing my actual scrims. Had a really intense one yesterday against Team Poland, where I played against their Eldar player and made a couple mistakes, and he made me pay. So I ended up 8-12 loss. But
what was his list looking like?
His list was looking like an Eldar list. We had all three suspects, 2 Night Spinners, Wraith Guard unit. He had Wraith Blades. That was kind of the spice.
Wraith Blades? In addition to the Wraith Guard?
In addition to 5 of them.
Wow. Now, were they axes or were they double swords?
They were axes, but it didn't matter because they died relatively quickly. And
okay. Fair enough.
But the other pieces of the list did what the other pieces of the list do. So,
okay,
well played game. But yeah, so that's been me. I've been doing a lot of that stuff and a lot of building. What about you, Joe?
I've been painting a little bit.
What you painting?
Oh, I'm getting from you, I think.
Sorry, I'll go on mute.
I finished up this guy. I call it my toilet incarn. He is. So I had one painted in my old Eldar color scheme, and I sold that army off. So I was like, oh well, if I'm going to use this guy, I got to repaint him. So I've been stripping him down, soaking him in simple green for a while, trying to be as delicate as possible. Every day I'd come out and just scrub a little bit more down until it was pretty close to being back to gray plastic. But then the last day, when I was just about ready to start putting him back together, I had him sitting on the bathroom sink as I was scrubbing the base of the model, and then there was a small layer of water on the kitchen sink, and it was resting on it, and it started like basically hydroplaning unbeknownst to me. And then I look over at the last second, and it's moved like 8 inches across the bathroom sink, and then it took a swan dive off, exploded into like 20 pieces, and several of which landed in the toilet. So
Wow.
I had to fish him out.
Wow. You've done a beautiful job here. Your purple to magenta blend is tickling my brain, but I do hope that is a portent of what happens to this bloody model.
Wow.
When the nerfing happens, I'm not mad about that. I'm upset that a beautiful model of yours fell into the toilet, but I do hope that, figuratively speaking, that is what happens with the Incarn.
Yeah. He's the Eldar God of Death, all right? So easy. Other than that, I've been doing the D&D club at my wife's school, and I decided to double dip a little bit here. We're setting it in the old world, and this is giving me an excuse to paint some Skaven. Oh yeah.
That is efficiency at its finest, my friend.
Yeah, so my Skaven box, like I think most kids that played Warhammer Fantasy, you had a huge army, and about 98% of it was not painted. That was the same with me. So I've been stowing away all my Skaven stuff in a big tote for like 15 years. And anytime I'm at like a tournament or something and I win a prize and I have a little bit of money left over, if there's some Skaven stuff, I will buy it. And then I just pop the top on the tote, throw it in there, seal it back up. So it's like this Warhammer time capsule I had, and I finally cracked the lid this week. And man, I was not disappointed.
That is a hilariously common trait I found in Skaven players. I know like 2 other guys that do exactly that. They have a rat horde. So I'm glad that you were able to put your rat horde to use.
Yeah. So this is the start. This is a dude. These are from Punga Miniatures, which make basically an entire Skaven line in resin, which is absolutely magnificent. So I have quite a bit of that stuff in there as well.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into your trip to Atlanta. So, how was your flight?
Flight was surprisingly good. We actually had like the timing was perfect because we had a connection. And we made it to the gate, and we hadn't eaten anything. It was an early morning, and we just had enough time to sit down, have a burger, and get on the plane with like 0. So, flight there was good. That first evening, went and had a nice dinner with my girlfriend, and then we kind of went to check out the store and see who was kind of hanging around the venue. So, Ryan from the Games Workshop store saw me and told me that I had to wear the Ultramarines helmet, given who I am as a person. That felt correct. So we did. I would not
like what the old, like, was it the old honor guard used to wear these helmets?
No, this is the Victrix honor guard. This is like
the guys right now have those.
Correct.
Oh, okay, all right.
Calgar's boys, which I was running Marnius Calgar, made perfect sense to me. So yeah, we just went in and said hi to a few people, kind of scoped out the venue. Really nice venue. Gotta say that did not disappoint. Yeah, so that was kind of night one. No gaming, no nothing. I was just getting the lay of the land.
Were you staying in the hotel at the venue?
No, we were staying at a hotel just a block away. I know a lot of folks were nervous about the homeless and folks around that area.
Oh, okay.
I live in Cracktown. It was I really I had to laugh. Like we didn't mind, but I did store my army at a friend's hotel room within the hotel just to make the mornings easier. But no, I was not at that venue.
Very good. So then, day one was there an invitational here or no?
This whole thing was an invitational.
Oh, right, but there wasn't like you know how like these big tournaments sometimes like a 16 person.
Yeah, there wasn't any of that. So they broke it down into the 8 pods. There was roughly, I think, 22 folks per pod. And so in the morning, we all just kind of rolled in, and said hi to all the people that you know. So a lot of Team Canada, WTC players and prospects, all my Art of War friends, all my friends that I've made over the years of traveling around and doing tournaments. So got to see a lot of familiar faces. And they did actually do a opening ceremony where we were given our golden tickets, like physically.
Oh, okay.
And they called us by country, and they were really leaning into the country theme, which it was cool. I'm trying out for WTC. I'm wanting to represent Canada, so it was a fun opportunity to do so.
Who won the like overall country?
Overall, for all game systems, the US won.
Okay.
Good job. Congrats. And we ended up 4th because of the AOS final where France took it. So they overtook us and England, I want to say. So it ended up France, England. But I might have those two wrong. But I do know that the US won overall, the champions of all things Warhammer. 40K went another way. As we'll talk about. I'm not going to address any of the drama. I think if you don't know what happened, or if you are talking like you do know what happened, just go read Goonhammer's article on it. Both players spoke on it, both John and Manny. I will say congratulations to Manny, congratulations to John, and also, given that we are the best overall show, congratulations to Boris Mishev, who had a really beautiful Sons of Horus army and won best overall for team.
Sons of Horus. All right, awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was kind of the start of it. We were all waiting, did the ceremony, and then pairings were up. And let me tell you, I just overall tournament experience. I have never had 8 games of Warhammer where you could not make a mistake. If you made a mistake, you lost the game. If you had one or maybe 2 bad draws of secondaries, you lost the game. If you had a few bad dice rolls in a row, you lost the game, because the level of competition across the board was just insane. So, my net result was 3-5, and I was disappointed. It wasn't quite where I wanted to be. But when I think about the people that I played and the folks that beat me, like, there's no shame in that game. So had a really good time, but man, oh man, was it the most intense few games of Warhammer I've ever played.
Wow. Before we just go through your games a little bit, can you recap what your list was?
Yeah, so I took a Gladius Task Force list, given that I hadn't had too much time to prep with the new codex. Basically, I had Calgar with the Harm Assist and the Aggressors. I had a unit of Infiltrators, a unit of Incursors, Phobos Librarian, I had the Combi Lieutenant, and then 3 Redemptors, 2 Whirlwinds, and maybe some other chaff in there, but I think that was roughly the list.
Okay.
So yeah, and this is day 1. Me and my good friend Kevin Grubbs. So if you can see our Ultramarines armies in front of us, he is the captain of the 4th company, as far as I'm concerned, because he has a beautiful army. I am so remiss for not taking photos at the showcase. It was such a grueling event. Like, I didn't take a lot of photos because I'm just so tired. I'm experiencing it all live, and I didn't think to. But Kevin's, I'm going to get him to send us some photos, actually, because Kevin's display was insane. He had they're on a spaceship. You know, Marnius Calgar's there looking at a hollow projector with his advisors. There's a garage downstairs where the Land Raider is. It's truly a work of art.
I think we actually do have a picture of that.
Do we? Oh no, it saved my butt.
Yeah. Yep. Is the fourth company Uriel Ventress's?
That is.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so this was kind of the like seeing my friends, catching up with people, and you know, luckily I did have my girlfriend there. So if you look at my cart, you can see I had a Starbucks because she's a good woman.
Oh, nice. Did you bring the cart on the plane with you?
Yeah, I funny enough, it did get destroyed on the way back home, but I travel with it. It's okay. They're paying for a new one. But I travel with this thing all the time. You just have to go into special baggage. It often costs no more than like an extra bag would. Sometimes they even just check it for free as a stroller, to be honest.
Oh, really? Okay.
I do find it depends on if I'm flying business class or not. If I'm business class,
get a little more leeway in the business class, eh?
Exactly. So get your travel points. That's all I'll say.
All right. Okay, so game one, I am not going to attempt to.
Svenung.
How is it?
Svenung.
Svenung.
Just call him Sven. Thankfully.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say this for literally every single opponent I had. Absolutely amazing opponents. So good at the game, but also the sportsmanship at this event was unbelievable. So we had, and it was cool because this was the first event my girlfriend had actually come to. She's watched me on stream. She knows how to play Warhammer, but watching this level of 40K happen where it's so collaborative and it's so, you know, this is my intent. Does this make sense to you? Yes, we're good. And moving on. It made her realize like, oh, this is why you enjoy this so much. So it was a really great game. He was using a Tyranid list. Spoiler alert, I ended up playing 100% of the Tyranid players there.
Jeez.
I lost to all of them, so I consider myself a Tyrannic War vet at this point. But
okay.
But we had a really great game. The sort of Cole's notes of it, because I am trying to recall from 2 weeks ago.
He's got a Hype Tyrant, a Neuro Tyrant, Old One Eye, Death Leaper, 30 Gargoyles, Biofor, Exocrine, 3 Neurolictors,
yeah,
2 Norns, an Assimilator, and an Emissary, Pyrovores, and Rippers.
Yeah, so what kind of happened on one flank, because this was Dawn of War, which my army did not love against this army. And of course, he took big secondaries, one of which was behind enemy lines, and I think homers. I think that's what he took. Great strategy, especially when I have such a big deployment zone. So I ended up winning the roll to go first, and he did make one mistake, which was he left one of his Neurolictors a little too close on his lighter flank, which was my right flank. And I had put a Dreadnought right on the line, thinking, you know, I've got something to do if I get first turn. Sure enough, I go first. And I moved up, got a charge, killed that Neurolictor, and ended up with a Dreadnought in a really compromising position for him. So that set the tone of the game pretty early, and it was a violent one. Very back and forth. There was some crazy swings. At one point, that very same Dreadnought ended up charging a very wounded Old One Eye, didn't do a single wound to him, and then died in return, which was shocking, to say the least. But, you know, my aggressors came down, killed one of the Norns, couldn't finish the job on the second one, and it ended up a slog in the middle. And I don't remember the score, but it was a close game right up till the end when it wasn't. But masterfully played by Sven. Had a great time playing him. It was an absolute pleasure. So that was good one.
Do you remember what country Sven was from?
I really should know this. No, I don't. Norway?
I'm assuming some Scandinavian country.
Yeah. Norway. And if you're listening and I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. It was a long weekend.
Round 2, you played against Alex
Diepa, and yeah, it was a Marinov. So he had a Dark Angels Ironstorm list. And I'm not going to lie, I was terrified of this list.
He brought a lot of firepower, that's for sure. Jeez,
He
he's
brought the
got Phobos Librarian, 2 Tech Marines, Eliminators, and uh, 3 Inceptor Squad with Bolters, an Incursor Squad, 3 Redemptors, what a hero, Thunderstrike Stormspeeder, a Vindicator, and 3 Whirlwinds and an Assassin, a Calidus Assassin. All right.
So this one felt like what my list was trying to do, but better.
Okay.
He focused, he focused and brought the depth. So, I was pretty nervous going into it. This was the ritual, so
Oh,
I
okay.
think that really played into my hands, to be honest. So the way that we kind of set it up, like there wasn't many opportunities to kill things because I knew if I step out, it's dead. I also knew that if it wasn't lone op and if it was just infantry, his whirlwinds would just kill it. We very quickly showed that to each other when I believe my whirlwinds took out. I think he went first in this one. I can't recall, but my whirlwinds took out his snipers. His whirlwinds took out my incursors. We called it even, and then we played the game. So what I do recall is I made a bit of a push on my left flank, which is where my whirlwinds were. That it was the I can't believe it's not Dawn of War diagonal.
Yep.
So I was deployed pretty much in that corner with some key pieces sort of near the middle, and Alex brought the pain. He brought 2 of his dreadnoughts to deal with mine, and he gave himself a lot of space on my left flank. We did a bit of a trade. It wasn't as good for me. I killed 1 of his dreadnoughts. He killed 2 of mine. But I realized very quickly, and he was using his infantry to kind of create, I think he had built 2 objectives pretty early on in where I only had made 1, and he killed me off of it pretty quickly. So I realized I'm losing the fight on this flank. Why don't I just change where I'm focused? Because he had a few smaller units and 1 dreadnought holding his right flank where he had created these 2 additional objective markers near the center. So I dropped in the aggressors with Calgar, and they were the heroes I needed because they came in, they killed a bunch of stuff, and they enabled my chaff pieces, my inceptors. I did take inceptors. I forgot about that. So 2 units of 3. All of the deep striking portion of my army all of a sudden swung to the other side, and the rest of my army, I just threw meat at it. So like my infiltrators and the librarian died valiantly, buying me time. My whirlwinds died valiantly, buying me time. And at the end of the day, I just outscored him as he more or less tabled everything but Calgar and I want to say Uriel Ventress, who ran up to 1 objective. I think I held 2 by the end of it, but it was a very bloody game. I did manage, one thing I'm proud of is I did manage to get a unit of Inceptors right up behind him and kill that Tech Marine that was making those whirlwinds so deadly. And then later then killed the whirlwinds as well. So a lot of violence in this one. Alex was an amazing player. He was representing Romania, lives in Florida. His heritage is Romanian. Beautiful guy. We just had such a blast. Absolutely amazing sportsman, great player. He was having, and like, I think he had a really good attitude about the event. He's like, I'm just here having fun, man. I'm having a great time. And, after day 1, day 2, there was a few folks who you can tell are not used to not winning, who had some responses that you could just tell they weren't having fun. So Alex lost the game to me, but was just such a positive beacon. And I'm glad that was how I finished day 1, because day 2 was the day I went 0-3. So actually, Alex, if you're listening, thank you, mate, because your podcast kept me going through the hardest day for me.
Now, being a Marine noob, is he actually getting anything from being Dark Angels here, or is that just what his army was painted as?
I think it was a borrowed army.
Okay.
I don't actually think that he had anything tremendously Dark Angel specific.
Okay.
I think that was just the way they were painted. Because really nowadays, if you're running a non like your army detachment, the only nuance to your army is the unique units. And I don't recall
Yeah, he doesn't have anything that's Dark Angel
unique to
specific
Dark
in
Angel.
here. Yeah. Okay.
Like for me, it's just Calgar and Uriel, and that's the Ultramarines piece, right?
Who are absolute force multipliers. So
Very much so. Very much so.
All right.
So that was
Day
day
one.
one.
Or that was day one, yeah. Day two, you played Caillou.
Caillou. Oh my god, I loved this game. So
Okay.
Caillou was just such a friendly guy. We immediately like got to know each other. Him and my girlfriend were having very nice banter too. Like we were just having such a blast. And every time he moved his big Tyranid monsters, he would go "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and like we're having, and he stopped. He's like, I want you to understand. Like I play with my son, and this is how we play. And he showed me his son, adorable, like such a loving dad. You could just see it in his eyes, and an absolute beast at Warhammer. So Caillou was playing. He was the second Tyranid of the 3 Tyranid players that I played.
And he has Old One Eye, Bird Lord, Hive Tyrant, Neuro Tyrant, Biovore, 10 Gene Stealers, 2 Neurolictors, Pyrovore, 2 units of 3 Raveners, a Ripper Swarm, a unit of 2 Carnifexes. Oh, okay, because Old One Eye is he can lead the unit. Okay,
Correct.
I'm assuming that's what happened. 3 Carnifexes.
That is what happened.
Exocrine, Haruspex, and Malscepter. You don't see that Haruspex terribly often.
No, and I killed it pretty quickly, so I couldn't tell you what it did. But this
what country is Caillou from?
Caillou, I think he was from. I mean, I know he's Chilean, but I think he was from Germany.
Oh, okay.
We had a great talk, and he was just like. I found out later that he was team captain for Germany for the WTC for a very long time when they won.
Oh, wow.
And honestly, like having played him, that makes perfect sense.
All right. So this guy was a beast.
An absolute beast, but like, totally unassuming and genuinely was there to have a great time. And we did. Like it was such a good game, such a good again, I feel like a broken record, but literally every single player I played was amazing. And I had such a great time with all of them. But Caillou is a gem. His list was very like I looked at it and I couldn't get like there was things that were good in it, but it didn't feel like it had an overarching theme. And I don't think it mattered actually. Like he just played it so well. This was forget the mission name, but it's the one where the objective markers disappear.
Okay. Yep.
So we set up. We're in our corners, and we roll the objectives. And first, it's the corner kind of more on his side that's disappearing. Then it's the corner on my side, and the middle is what's left. So that dictates that it's going to be a very violent match where we're fighting over the middle, and it was a slog. I did get Calgar and the aggressors in there, and I killed a lot of his stuff. Again, the Inceptors were very valuable because I want to say turn 2, like the first opportunity I could, I got them in his backlines and killed his Biovore, so he couldn't just score easy secondaries on me. I stopped the bleeding there.
He was fixed, I take it?
I can't recall. He might have actually taken tactical.
Oh, okay.
But don't quote me on that. But he and I just had a very violent trading war in the middle, and with a few side pieces kind of fighting it out. But by the very end, there was the key pivotal moments in the game. I kind of recall there was a point where he had a few or maybe it was just Old One Eye that was still left, and his Hive Tyrant. And in the middle, I had one Dreadnought that was locked in combat, failed its battle shock, couldn't fall back, fighting those Carnifexes, and another one that didn't. I went into tactical doctrine, and here's the mistake I made. I should have just done the math, realized that one Dreadnought I think I had some other stuff on it too. Could have taken that objective from him and scored me the points. I made a charge move trying to free up my other dreadnought, and Caillou got a very good heroic intervention in with that Hive Tyrant. Ended up swinging it around. He killed my dreads, and that objective was his for the rest of the game. And it became a 8-point swing right there because he was always going to score bottom of turn 15 points right there. And he won by 12.
Oh, soul crushing.
Yeah, but he called it when I did it. He's like, "You should have done this." I'm like, "You are 100% right, sir." He came over to my side of the table, gave him a big hug, and that was a hard fought one. It was such a trading war in the middle. We both, we were both sweating at one point. But that one mistake, so as I said, you make one mistake, or you get first turn when you really need second, or one thing goes against you. My countryman Blackburn's in the comments. Nick, good to see you. But yeah, it was just a great game. And Nick and I became besties as well. So we live on opposite sides of the country. I'd never actually met him in person, but we're part of a couple Discords together. So
okay,
good to put a face to the name. But yeah, so that was the start of the 3-loss slog.
So looks like you got Tyranids again.
Yeah, I figured, you know what, if I'm going to play Tyranids, let's play all the Tyranids. This was actually a person I know and am friends with, Colin Watts. So he had a very different style of Tyranid list. It's true, Nick, we are brothers. He had a very different style of Tyranid list. I would call it the Speedy Meatwall is what I would call what his list was.
He has it appropriately titled Lictor Shame.
Yeah. It was...
he has a Death Leaper, Neuro Tyrant, Winged Tyranid Prime, 2 units of 10 gargoyles, Biovore, Lictor, Neurolictor, Pyrovore, maximum 18 Raveners. I like it. 3 units of 6. Tyranid Warriors. Looks like 7 of them. Is that right?
Yeah.
Venom Thropes, a unit of 3, and then 18 Von Ryan's Leapers, the lesser lictors. So yeah, that is a lot of lictor bodies.
And we were playing the mission where it is Hammer and Anvil, and you are you have 2 objectives on your side. They have 2 objectives on their side. The middle goes away. Here's what he did. He got first turn. And I was deployed pretty much on the line with most things that want to be on the line, my dreads and stuff. And he just rushed me with, I want to say it was the Von Ryan's Leapers, first wave. And he physically just hemmed me into my deployment zone, made some charges and got into the whirlwinds. Didn't kill them all, but tied me up. Then my turn, I cleaned up what was there, but I obviously couldn't move forward because he had walled me in with meat. And then he did it again with, I think round 2 was a unit of gargoyles came in. And if you don't know, gargoyles, after they shoot, can effectively fire and fade 6 inches. So they come outside of 9 inches, shoot at you, and then they're blocking you in 3 inches away. So he did that to me round 2. He did that to me round 3. And then round 4, the Raveners came and more or less did the same thing. It was soul crushing. It's a good thing I like Colin as a person because that one was hard. But that list was like, oh, okay, that's how you win with this. I do feel like different map, different mission, or me going first could have really shaken that up and made a game of it, but it wasn't a game the way that it ended up. So kudos to Colin. You cracked the code, my friend.
Wow. Jeez. Would the so he's just basically move blocking you the whole time.
The entire time. And that's his army.
Wow.
That's what he does. He sits on objectives and he physically blocks you from moving forward. Now my Inceptors went in and did some good work in his backfield, but it didn't get me enough to break the break his strategy or get the points to swing around. So
Wow.
well,
Were you able to overwatch it all with the aggressors? I feel like they would be able to kill a screen if it was in front of them.
I did, but those gargoyle units are pretty big, and it didn't wipe out enough, basically.
Okay.
By the time I broke out, I think it was like 4th round. So I didn't get, I think I got like, because you're getting 2 primary for the one in your DZ. I think by then I had only scored 2 every turn. So that's when I started scoring more primary, but wasn't, it was way too late. Yeah. Lost number 3 to Tyranids, number 2 of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, well, then no more Tyranids for the rest of the tournament because you played.
I was done. I was done.
Okay, so round 5, third of day 2.
Round 5, day 2.
You played against Robert.
Robert.
And his Drukhari. Ooh.
And his
all right.
very, very pretty Drukhari army. And it broke my heart because Robert came by. He has very friendly dude. He's coming. He's holding his army tray. Big smile when he realizes, like, oh, there's my opponent. Looks like a friendly guy. Promptly drops his Lilith on the ground and stomps her into the car.
No.
We were both like, no. So that was a very.
He stepped on it.
He stepped on it. I felt so bad. We like had to.
Oh. Every Eldari life lost is a tragedy, Kaz. Okay, even the Drukhari.
Hey, I started my Warhammer life as a Drukhari. I know.
What?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
We don't talk about it, but I have.
We're elf brothers. I didn't know that.
We are. I am the Darkkin, but we are brothers.
Okay.
But yeah. So Robert had a very beautiful army, and like, you know, I never underestimate a player who got there with and brought an army that is typically not seen because it's not considered good. I mean, you know, I play against JT McDowell in my local, so I know to respect the Darkkin.
Yeah, I love the name of his list. How in the world did I qualify for this? Exclamation point.
Don't fall for his tricks. He was an excellent general. He did win best overall. We talked about it, but like
he did.
Not at this one.
Oh,
playing event was a best overall.
Okay.
So you know, I think he had. I think that's why the name, but like undeserved because man, his generalship was spot on.
Was he U.S. or Canada?
He was representing Australia, but he was the UK.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, awesome guy. So do you want to run through the list?
Yeah, he has an Archon and Lilith. Those are it for the characters.
Yeah.
Oh, no Master of Blades, my favorite unit in the Dark Eldar Codex. Jeez. He's got 2 units of Cavalry Warriors, 2 units of 5 Racks, a unit of 10 Witches, Raider, Venom, Kronos, 3 units of Mandrakes, 3 Ravagers with Dark Lances, a unit of Reavers, 3-man, Scourges with, and 2 units of Scourges with Dark Lances and 1 unit of Scourges with a Haywire Blaster. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those Haywire Blasters were my bane. I had 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, man.
Yeah.
So this was a spicy one. I believe the deployment zone was Hammer and Anvil on this one. It might have been I can't believe it's not Hammer and Anvil, the diagonal one. I can't recall for sure. But I ended up going first. He had a lot of stuff in reserve. And so I made sure I screened the hell out of my backline. And he complimented me on it. He was like, that is good screening. I can tell I'm not getting back there. I killed some of his stuff with Whirlwinds and Indirect. And I think I took some shots at one of his Ravagers. I might have even killed one turn 1, which was great. But that's where the momentum, like going my way, felt like it stopped because on the return, actually, his turn 1 wasn't that spicy. Like I don't think he killed anything. He just wounded some dreadnoughts, and I was in a good position. My turn 2, I bring down my Inceptors. I'm like, let's go. I killed off some other stuff. But the Inceptors didn't really do it. And then there was Mandrakes there murdering them because I had screened them out of my DZ. But most importantly, on this turn 2 of his, so battle round 2, bottom of turn, he shot Lilith and team out of the transport they were in, and they were staged behind a ruin. And I looked, and I'm like, oh no, he is going to beeline straight through all this ground into the ruin where my infiltrators and Phobos Librarian are hiding and blocking out his screen. And so I realized, like, I need to rapid ingress with my aggressors. And I did it, and I got them there so they can overwatch. Did the overwatch on the charge. I killed every witch and took Lilith down to 1 wound.
Okay.
She got in, she killed the wizard, but wasn't able to kill like anything else. But he did get assassinated that turn, so scored him some points. Yeah, that was a kind of portent of things to come. From there, I more or less just died in the middle of the table while trying to push back, and
Wow.
it was just like those. I gotta say, you know, he had a lot of firepower. Like Drukhari do. Dark Lances are amazing, especially when your opponent rolls poorly, you roll well. Like those things can be very swingy. They can also go the other way. I've seen them do absolutely nothing. But you know what's great? Haywire, because he was just deleting a Redemptor like with ease every turn, and we played it out right to the end, and yeah, my man Robert came out with the win. I was very happy
Wow.
for it. Like it was, you know, I think he was more fragile, but had so much violence on his side that and he had a workaround to my toughest units, which were the Redemptors. Those Haywire blasters were absolutely clutch in that matchup. He highlighted them perfectly and took the W. So
Scourges notably also get to move when they shoot?
Yeah.
For free?
Okay. That's right. So I was able to delete 1 or 2 units with whirlwinds, but I had other priorities because he was very good at threat saturation with the things that he was showing. And then, yeah, the Scourges were not ever visible for me to kill.
Wow. Yeah, having 21 Dark Lances in your list seems like, yeah, that is a lot of firepower.
Blackjack is the right number of Dark Lances to bring.
How many?
Blackjack, 21.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So that ended day 2. You know, and I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't a little bit down about the fact that I knew at this point I wasn't winning anything. And I was among very storied company at the painting showcase. So I did make showcase.
Okay.
That was actually end of night 1, I want to say. Maybe night 2. It's all kind of blurred together. But I think like by the end of that day, I had the painting scores. I believe I was 8th, which honestly, you know, I've heard it said a few times in podcasts, kind of recapping people's experience. Whoever says competitive 40K players can't paint is on crack, because let me tell you, the level of painting competition was unreal. My fellow countryman Dominique did very well. So did my fellow countryman Marshall. Marshall Reeves won 3rd place. So he
nice.
Which was awesome. He has this beautiful Sisters of Battle army. Dominique has a really nice Space Marine army. So there was a couple Canadians represented there. Our very own Noah Badome was obviously among the storied company in the showcase, but I also knew I hadn't won anything there. So it was kind of just like the end of all aspirations of coming home with a trophy. But in a way, I was kind of happy about it. You know, we went, had a couple drinks that night, and then I realized, wait, all the pressure's off. Wow. I'm just out here having fun now. And not to say I wasn't having fun before. Don't get me wrong.
Did you get to keep your golden ticket?
I did.
Nice. Is it framed?
It's not framed, but It's sitting with all my trophies. So.
Oh, nice! That's
It was actually
awesome.
really cool. It was really cool. A marked improvement from last
Is
year.
it made out of metal?
No, it's paper, but it
Okay.
very much is foiled, so it
Oh,
looks
okay.
very shiny and gold.
That is awesome.
Get yourself a golden ticket. Highly, highly recommended.
We're working on it.
So that was day 2, and at this point, moving on to day 3, we had only a few games left. So I had 3 games left. So I really appreciated how they staggered the schedule, to be honest, because after that day, I was wiped. Knowing that I only had 2 games the next day kind of was nice. So I started off playing with a fellow Space Marine player who is an absolute legend. I had never gotten to meet him before, but a lot of the folks that I know and admire Sasha Edelkraut. What a guy. What a beautifully painted Imperial Fist army. I think I did take a picture, but I couldn't find it. But anyone who knows Sasha knows he is stellar with his Marines. He is a beautiful painter. Like, he was showcased as well. And so we had a really pretty game. We both were kind of in a similar boat, though. He took a Firestorm list, which we'll read out in a second.
Okay.
But we both were kind of feeling like, this wasn't the list. I was one of the very lucky few who John Lennon had told about his list and was like, you should run this. But I just didn't have the time to hobby it up. I was kicking myself, or hobby it up and get reps with it. And let me tell you, having had a few reps with it now, it is not an army that you can just pick up and go unless you're John Lennon. You need the reps.
Okay.
And I am distinctly not. But I kind of regretted it in that, if I wasn't going to win best overall or anything anyway, I would have gotten 8 of the highest quality reps I could have with that list. So I would be deadly with it now. But Sasha was feeling similar about his list. He was like, this isn't the money. So we just had, good conversation about Space Marines, frankly, as he kicked my butt. But why don't you go on and tell us what Sasha brought?
And Sasha lives in the U.S. but is from Germany.
I do know he lives in the U.S. I think he is originally from Germany. I don't know who he was representing.
Okay.
Country-wise, though. But yes, that is correct.
All right. He has the Praetorians of Terra, which is an Imperial Fists Firestorm Assault Force with Darnath Lysander, a Phobos Librarian, an Impulsor, with a comms array. What does that do?
So that was a really integral part of his strategy. And this is what on Sasha's list. I have been following Sasha's list making for much longer than I've known him, because like me, he does these snowflakey little Space Marine things that no one would think of. So what that does is it gives an aura of, if you use a CP and get a 5 up, you get a CP back. It's his way of keeping CP high in an army where he's using a lot of grenades. And
gotcha.
Specifically what that purpose was.
And he has 5 Assault Intercessors with jump packs, Centurion Assault Squad, a second Centurion Assault Squad with flamers and siege drills, Eliminators, Eradicators, 3-man, 3 3-man Eradicator squads, a 3-man Inceptor squad with plasma, and a 6-man Inceptor squad with bolters. Oh, 2 6. Okay, whoa, back up.
Yeah, you got a lot.
3 plasma Inceptors, 6 bolter Inceptors, and then 6 more plasma Inceptors. Wow. And then infiltrators, scout squad, and a Calidus assassin.
Yeah, it was a very hard to nail down list. He had the scouts particularly won him what I would call the deployment phase, because the scout move on those scouts plus infiltrate was better than the individual either infiltrate for my infiltrators or scout move for my incursors. And the second infiltrator unit on his end meant that I could not hope to really leverage deep strike. I think in this one, I kept Calgar and the aggressors on the board because I knew, like, if I didn't, they're not coming anywhere useful. And he did end up getting first turn. Took a lot of board presence with those scouts. And actually, maybe I did go first. I can't recall because this is getting quite late into the event. But the TLDR was, I think the scouts helped him win the positioning battle up front, and then his infiltration blocking made it so I couldn't use my tools that I brought, like my Inceptors, while his Inceptors vastly outnumbered me. And they did have the Firestorm unit rules, so his anything he's shooting that's within, I want to say 12 inches gets +1 strength. He has a strat to have +1 wound. So he brought down the bolt Inceptors and almost murdered a whirlwind.
Wow.
Yeah. And brought the plasma Inceptors down and just popped a dreadnought like with contemptuous ease. So all of a sudden I'm on the back foot, and he's got the center of the board. He's got Lysander on an objective behind a wall.
Wait, the plasma Inceptors did? Because they they'll what? Are they strength 10?
They were strength 10. So winning on 4s, re-rolling, twin linked.
No.
He might have even used the strat. So he just, and I think he might have finished it off with an Eradicator's errant shot.
Okay. Wow.
But regardless, pretty quickly on, he killed a Redemptor, and I had 2 left, and the aggressor is like poised to strike on my turn, and he owns the middle at this point. So on my turn, I looked and noticed, hey, that assault squad with jetpacks is pretty ballsy and has gotten pretty close to those aggressors. So I advanced up, shot something else, killed something else. I think it might have even been the snipers or the impulsor. Can't recall now. But charged in and absolutely murdered those guys and consolidated onto an objective and flipped the primary. So all of a sudden, he had a go turn, and I think he ended up drawing tempting target that turn, and I made it that one. So all of a sudden, all his eggs are in one basket, and he needs to kill that unit. And he just did it. Like, there was, by the end of throwing, everything he had there, he just killed it. And then I think he had a couple Eradicators and whatnot all over the map that weren't able to. So he's like, okay, well, I'll just shoot that one Dreadnought. Killed it. Shot the other Dreadnought. Killed it. Oh my God. So all of a sudden, I have nothing. And I got a couple secondaries that made this worthwhile. And I'm looking at the score. I'm like, I'm about to get effectively tabled. And it's like battle round 3 or maybe 4. Hail Mary. And I'm like, okay, if I can kill Lysander and the one unit of infiltrators that was on this objective that was away from that bloody melee, and if I can kill the one assault centurion that's like survived all this nonsense I've sent his way there was 3 of them initially, and I sent my Inceptors back to steal his home objective and kill the centurion. I'm like, I could swing the points far enough that maybe I still have a fighting chance. I needed to kill 2 of 3 of those things. I thought I was being very clever because if you don't know, Lysander, for one phase, gets to just say, I have a 2-up invuln.
Oh.
And he has 6 wounds. So I'm looking at him and I'm like, you know what? I've got incursors that have a mine that does D3 wounds. And they have grenades as well. So let's see if that'll do it. So he pops his 2-up. I go up, I do the mine, I do 2 wounds. I roll the grenade, I do 3. So he's got 1 wound left. I'm like, I think I might have even... No, I shot my whirlwinds at the incursors, or infiltrators, killed them down to 1 guy. And then the Inceptor shot killed 2 of 3 assault centurions on his home objective. And so I charged with everything. And, at this point I'm sweating. And I think I took the 1 infiltrator down to 1 wound. Like, it was obscene. All 3 of them lived on 1 wound. Clapback happened, and I shook his hand and went over, and we talked out the rest of the game.
Ouch.
But no shame losing that battle. That was such a great game, and like beautifully painted Imperial Fist army, but like also the contrast of the blue and yellow together on the same table was awesome.
Oh,
Had a
nice.
great time, and yeah, the rest of that weekend, anytime I saw Sasha, we'd nerd out a bit. So happy
I'm
time.
sorry. Did you say you do have a Callous Assassin in your list?
Not in the list that I did.
Oh, okay.
He had one.
Right.
I don't remember what it did. It might have just like scored him points on his backfield.
Are people just always vecting armor contempt or?
Yes.
Okay.
Immediately. He actually, and I appreciated the way he did it. He said, just so you know, the first time you use AOC, just consider it vected. And I was like, you got it.
All right. And what? Oh, and I believe your final score was 69 on that game.
It was nice.
Nice. Very good. And then round 7.
So
finishing round 7 against
say
Ben and the boys. All right.
Yep. So Ben Pau from France. Again, eight amazing games, but I gotta say, Ben was my favorite opponent, and this was my favorite game.
Okay.
Hands down. Now, Joe, I gotta thank you and our friend Scott de Winter Wilkie for putting me through the gauntlet at Charity Hammer against your
Well, yeah, he's got 2 beast bosses on foot, Captain Badrock, a Naban Smash Squid with Head Wampus Kill Champa, Beast Snagger Boy, Beast Snagger Boys, Boys. Wow, this guy has got 60 boys in this list. Wow. Okay. And 6 trucks to put them all in. Awesome. Flash gets 3 units of Gretchen, 1 unit of 6 pigs. Storm Boys. Okay. Wow. This list does not hit terribly hard, other than the beast bosses and the squigs.
But it hits where it wants to hit, and it is just a mass of bodies. So
yep.
Knowing what I learned at Charity Hammer, and I was very transparent about it with Ben. I told him I am traumatized by Captain Badrock and the Flash games. I told him about what yours did to like an entire unit on Overwatch. He laughed and said, "Yep, that's what they do." So it was I forget the mission, but it was table quarters. I think there was, I don't know. I think it was Chilling Reign and like the one where the center objective splits into 2, maybe.
Okay. Yep.
So there was 3 objectives on my side, 3 on his side, and he took Cleanse and Homers. With a list like this, that is a pretty solid secondary plan.
I would say so. Yep.
And yeah, so again, I do believe he went first. No, sorry. I mean, I do believe I went first. He went second. And he, like, we had a very cagey match. And he was scoring real well, and I brought the aggressors out and I killed a bunch of stuff. And the highlight moment for me was he kind of got me in a bit of a pincer move where on one side of on my left flank, I've got a unit of Squighog boys that I've got to deal with. On my right is Badrock and the Flash Kids, and they're pointed. Their guns are aimed at Calgar and his unit.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm like, I really need Calgar to go deal with those Squighogs. I think the Redemptors can try to deal with these guys. And like, this game got really intense in a very like friendly, sportsmanly like way. But it got really intense. There's a couple moments where I really made him think, and like a couple of moments where he really made me think. If I'm not mistaken, at this point when I'm kind of like considering what to do, I looked at him and I said, "You're good." Like, I see you, friend. You're good. And I was like, I had to fight my trauma, and I was like, nope, I got to do it. I got to go deal with those Squighogs. And he did the Overwatch, and he rolled all the dice, and my beautiful Victrix guard tanked every single.
Wow.
And yeah, so that really swung things. I dealt with the Squighogs.
Well, they have a 2-up save, right?
The Victrix card, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did you armor contempt that?
yes, I did.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I didn't because it wasn't like you can't armor of contempt on Overwatch. So I didn't.
Oh, right. Oh, but were you in cover?
I was in cover.
Okay, so you're still taking it on too.
For sure. So it was
Yeah.
okay. It worked out, but man, I know what, because here's the problem. Once those Victrix die, like if 2 go down, the rest of the squad starts melting.
Mm-hmm.
But alas, the dice were with me and went and dealt with that flank. But I'm still dealing with this massive orc horde that just keeps scoring points. Now, the Dreadnoughts held the center for quite some time. As a result, he wasn't getting into my deployment zone for homers until I want to say battle round 4. So I kept his score down a little bit on the secondary. Now, this mission, your primary is going to be 50. Like it's one of those missions. It was the one where at the end of the battle, you score 5 for each objective up to 15, and you're scoring 10s every other turn. And at this point, like things are getting messed up. Orc Boys came down. He failed a crucial charge that would have won him, like absolutely would have won him the game against my infiltrators and librarian. It gave me a turn where, like, if he got in there, killed them, I was off of primary for the end, and that was it. But he failed that charge. I immediately looked at him. I'm like, that is your CP reroll. Go. And he rolled it again.
Wow. What unit was it? What was he charging with?
I don't know. All orcs look the same to me. It was orcs.
Whoa! You can't say that.
I said it. I want to say it was boys. Maybe it was Storm Boys, actually. I think it was a unit of the Storm. And I just, like, I got so lucky there because had he made that charge, the game goes his way for sure. But he didn't. I fell back. I scored some points, and then it was his we got to the final round, and I'm looking at my app, and I assumed that he was going to score max, and I looked at it and I said the maximum he can score is 98 points. The max he's going to get. I look at my own score, and I'm like, I am 1 secondary away from maxing, and I got assassinate, and I got storm. I want to say it was Storm Hostile, and he had taken my home objective. And so I just was like, okay, I have 2 whirlwinds, this Inceptor unit, and like a couple other, I think the librarian like blasted a bunch of them. There was like 1 guy left, and I had to kill him with 2 whirlwinds. And I showed him the math, and I'm like, if I score this, I'm at 100, and the most you can score is 97. It was, and like at this point, my girlfriend was with me. Noah and Donald had like finished their games, and they came and they were chatting, but Sharon, my girlfriend, realized like this is a very tense game and it's like on a razor's edge. So she did so good in deflecting everyone, being like, okay, like Cass is in a really intense game, just leave it be. And so I had this like sort of silent wall of support, and I looked at him, and like he gave me a big hug. We had like it was such an intense game, but I thank you, and I thank Scott for like prepping me against that matchup, because my God. And I did talk to him about his weekend. He was like, he was frustrated because every single loss he had was by like a couple points. And he's a WTC player, so he's like, I'm used to different tables. And I'm starting to get used to those tables, and it's a different beast. But he's like, in WTC, it's differential. This is a tie. And so we kind of talked about like, wow, orcs are a really important unit or army to have on your team's roster. So we're seeing a lot of teams events. Orc players, go find yourself a team because you are a valued member, because he was 10-10ing all of the big scary boogeymen, the CSM, the Eldar, etc. So great job, Ben. I do think your game and my game was my favorite game. It was expertly played and played like gentlemen. And I would have been so fine losing to you had you made either of those charges. But alas, the dice spoke and gave me a win.
All right. And then, so yeah, you went away with that with 100. Awesome.
Yeah.
And last round. Whoa.
So I'm gonna speak because there's a photo for later that I took, but this evening, like after this day finished up, John was playing in the shadow round against Boris.
Oh, we have that picture
We have that picture.
right
So
there.
this is John and Boris, and I wanted to just give Boris a shout out. I mean, he won best overall. He was in this um, grueling set of games. He played John twice, like, and this is at 1:30 in the morning,
Oh,
and like just look at the faces. I mean, he's having a great time. He was such a I'd never met Boris before. And I got to know him a little bit, in passing, and he just seemed like such a great guy, a wonderful painter. You can kind of see the Sons of Horus themed army he had, and just a ridiculous person. And I appreciate ridiculous people who are kind and at 1:30 in the morning playing Warhammer are having a good time. As a now Charity Hammer alumni, I have so much respect. So again, congratulations to Boris because he won best overall, and it was very well deserved. He had quite the run with a gorgeously painted army. But yeah, so that was where I was right until I think my girlfriend even tapped out. And so I'm having a few beers at this point because, as I said, after day two, I was like, we're just having fun now. Watching this game, we got a couple glares because I did make Kyle McCord laugh way too hard at the table. It's 1:30 in the morning. Beers are flowing. We're all having a good time. But from the outside, I know folks will think of competitive players sometimes as like these no fun Grinches. So I captured this beautiful moment that I don't think any of them have seen. And I wanted to share that because this was just like, yeah, this is what it's about. Like, it was awesome. So that evening comes to a close, and we go on to the final day. And I am playing a gentleman by the name of Pichichai, and he was from Thailand.
oh,
And lovely opponent, lovely army. It was by far the nicest Red Corsair army I've ever seen. And I gave
okay.
a lot of praise. We were definitely fawned over each other's models for quite some time. And now I come to the realization that I've seen CSM played. I've studied the matchup. I know what the army does. This is my first rep into that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm doing the math. And I started deploying, I deployed all the stuff that, like, I saved my dreads till the end. Realized, like, I don't have 100% of my brain power right now. Like, I've had a very long weekend, and I was up until I don't know how John played a game until 2 in the morning, and then played a game at 8 in the morning, but he did.
Oh,
So me just being awake and watching that game, and then going to bed, waking up the next morning hungover, that was hard enough. So I'm kind of looking at this, and I'm thinking, I don't have the brain power to necessarily just outplay the hell out of this guy. He's here for a reason, like this, and I've not had an easy game this entire tournament. So I got to give a shout out to friend of the show, Steve Trimble, because I looked down at the two not the Hellbrutes. Yeah, he did have a Hellbrute, but
Forge beans.
Forge Fiends. Thank you. I looked down at the two Forge Fiends. I realized if I deploy on the line and just go first, I can kill these two. So I summoned, the spirit of Steve, and I deployed on their line, and I just went first. But yeah.
Awesome.
So why don't you go over what Pichitai brought for his list?
He has two Chaos Lords with hammers, undivided, an undivided Dark Commune, a Cultist Squad, a Rhino, one unit of Accursed Cultists, 16 of them, so I think that's max size.
Yeah.
2 units of 5 Chosen, undivided, 2 Forge Fiends, 1 Nurgle, a Nurgle Hellbrute, and I believe that guy is going to buff the Forge Fiends letting them do both of their dark packs
Correct.
when they shoot. 2 units of 2 obliterators, and then 3 units of Slaneshi warp talons. I'm assuming to advance and charge.
Yes.
And then 3 Nurglings. 3 units of 3 Nurglings.
Yeah. So a lot of the good stuff is in this list. And I did, as I said, deployed on the line with those 3 dreadnoughts and just went first. And I knew that he had, I drew my secondaries and I had to kill a unit on an objective, I believe was the one. And he did have his cultists on the back on an objective, but I knew he was saving the Nurgle strat for that. So I'm like, let's see what happens here.
Cultists also have sticky objectives, so if they die on the objective, they still have it.
Right, but you don't sticky an objective until your command phase.
Yes.
So I move forward with my dreadnoughts and I get the aggressors in position 2, and I go ahead and I kill the undivided fortune first. One dreadnought did it. I got lucky. Then the second one, and I'm like, "Are you going to Nurgle strat it?" He says, "No." So I shoot the second one. I take that to 3 wounds. And then I say, "Okay, I'm shooting the third one." He's like, "I'm going to Nurgle strat it now."
Okay.
So I said, "Okay." And then I shot at the Accursed Cultists were the only other thing I could shoot at. So I shot everything into them, did nothing. Ultimately, I killed stuff and came back net 0. But then my whirlwind got onto the cultists and got me points. So over to his first turn. One aggressor was visible when he moved his Forge Fiend. And it was the Nurgle one, so it was buffed by the Hellbrood. In one fell swoop, he completely deleted all of the aggressors and all of the Victrix Guard and severely wounded the Apothecary Biologist.
Wow. And Calgar?
Calgar was fine.
Okay.
My God. One activation. And he overcharged, so he rolls a 1 and explodes.
Oh.
I also forgot to mention the first Fortune I killed also exploded in his line. So
wow.
All more wounds happening. And this was a theme in our game. The poor guy, every time he overcharged something, or almost every dark pact, he failed. Like it was mind-blowing. The poor guy did more wounds to himself than I did at the end of it. But that Forge Fiend dying really gave me the momentum. At this point, I had 3 Redemptors, and I still had Calgar, even though I didn't have his unit.
Mm-hmm.
So, he sent in, he sent down his obliterators, and they failed to do anything. And then I sent down my incursors, and I killed him off of every single objective. I killed so much of his. He got his chosen into combat with a dread, flubbed the roll. I killed a bunch back, and it was just so decisive that turn 3, I was telling him what I was going to do, and he's just like, "We're good here. This was a great game. I'm done." And I was like, "Okay, I can respect that." So we shook hands, and I didn't have him tabled yet, but it wasn't far off. And I was on every single objective. So that was the win.
Well, congrats, buddy. I mean, that's probably the hardest tournament ever assembled, I would imagine. Singles.
I would say so. Because you weren't, you had to remember, when you're losing these games, I kind of, again, very thankful. And actually, if you want to go to the last picture, very thankful that I brought my lovely lady with me. This is Sharon.
The girl, not the Terminator.
Correct. The Terminator is lost to me, but yeah. So she definitely was very good at making sure that I remembered that I am in a room full of 180 people who all won like a major to be there. And so, of course, every single game is going to be tough. Jeremy from StatCheck fame had said he didn't expect a single Canadian to go positive. And I took that like I was like, hey man, I'm gonna do my best. So I didn't get to prove him wrong, but he did end up proving himself wrong. So
nice.
so congrats, Jer. But yeah, it was such a grueling event. I was so mentally exhausted afterwards, and of course, I've just dove back into playing TTS games for WTC tryouts. But I have never been to a harder event. It was so cool. I loved that we were doing it alongside the grand narrative because I got to see some friends, some good friends that didn't qualify and were like, we're going to come for the narrative and have a great time. So as an event overall, they did a really great job. And like both events seemed like everyone was having a great time. So I will say I really did enjoy the world aspect of it. Kind of everyone representing their nations. It added a level of, hey, I got showcase, I got points for my team, or, hey, I won a few games and got a lot of battle points. I got some points for the team. So there was some camaraderie there. And, I know I'm taking a rest in December. I'm not doing any events, but let me tell you, I'm going to come out guns blazing in January and do what I can to get back to. I think they're going to do it again in Atlanta, but get another golden ticket.
Oh, okay.
Because that was so cool. It was every single one of my Warhammer friends, old and new, that I got to meet, play with, hang out with, go for dinner with. It was just awesome. Just an awesome time. So yeah, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Okay. Man, sounds like it was a great time.
It really was. And honestly, like, I've thought of it. I've talked about it with friends, but like kind of just going through granularly, again, I appreciate so much. All 8 opponents I had were phenomenal people. I know not everyone felt that way about, like, there was issues,
Okay.
but largely speaking, like, I'm friends with a lot of the refs as well, and I would chat with them. Largely speaking, it was a pretty self-monitoring event. Not a lot of actual stuff happened. The internet takes like one thread and runs with it and makes weird rumors. I'm glad all of those were put to bed by the time this show is coming out, because honestly, like I gotta say congratulations to everyone. Congratulations to Manny, congratulations to John, congratulations to Boris, and congratulations literally to 180 people who made it there, because like that was the prize. It's easy to lose sight of that, but being there was the prize. So, and I hope to see you there next year too.
Yeah.
We're gonna be playing some TTS. We're gonna get you there.
Absolutely. I have a RTT tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I'm going to be bringing Eldar, my first in-person Eldar game of 10th edition. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to you. I'm sure you will crack some skulls.
Hopefully so. Yeah. Yeah. So, thank you everyone for listening. I think that was a good show. I loved hearing it, and jealous that I didn't get to go to the championship to hang out with you guys, but yeah, awesome experience.
We're taking you along next time. So
you can check out the other shows on the network: Best in Faction, The Next Generation, and This Week in 40K. Please like and subscribe to the channel and this video, and you can check us out on all the social media websites for Patreon, YouTube, Instagram, and Discord. So, and to get onto the Discord, you go through the Patreon. So, all right, everyone. Well, if nothing else, thank you for listening and have a good night.
Thanks for joining us.